everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I've been looking forward to this for a few days now, and this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So if I've done any mistakes, I'm used to being by the butcher's block, not in front of a screen, but I'm going to do my best with the help of Ellen and Rhiannon tonight. So thank you for joining us. Tonight I'm talking about pork butchery and using nose to tail butchery. A lot of people stick to traditional methods, but there is loads of other methods out there and different ways of adding value to your pork and utilising every little piece of the animal. You know, these animals giving up their life for us, so we need to respect it and utilise every part of the animal we can to add value to our businesses and to stay viable and sustainable, and to tick all the boxes what customers are looking for. So I'll just, if we can have the next slide, please. Hang on. Thank you. So there's just a little brief screen about where I work and what we do. Obviously, my background is butchery. In Group Llandrillo Menai, I'm in charge of the red meat, poultry, fish and game. So that's the area I cover. So I do practical butchery workshops. We do HACCP mentoring and lots of other legal parts of meat businesses. I help people start off and give them a bit of guidance on which steps you need to take if you're thinking about starting your own food business and adding value and diversifying as farmers. Then, you know, that's what I'm here to do, is to try and help everybody. Or if I don't know any answers tonight, you know, that you ask me, I'll make sure that I will find out and I'll get back in touch with you straight away. Next slide, please. So this is the agenda for tonight. I have shared a little booklet that I've written with Rhiannon. Anybody interested can receive that from Rhiannon if you just get in touch, and she'll share it with you. It's mainly to do with the first part, which is a large part of, you know, butchery or animal, you know, producing animal for food. Obviously, you as farmers, you do such a great job in getting animals ready to go to slaughter or getting them up to whatever size you require to suit your business. You've done all the hard work, and then you drop that animal off at a slaughterhouse gate, and then that little booklet I've done, it just explains about pre-slaughter care, a little bit about the slaughter process and what's required, and the quality points on all those processes end up to provide you with a good end product. Any steps there that aren't done properly will affect the end product. There's no doubt about it. And if you get an animal back from an abattoir that you think, oh, this doesn't look quite the same, some of those little booklet might answer some of the questions, and you can trace back where it's gone wrong in the system, if you like, or what's happened. So it's mainly to do with transport and getting the animal ready to go to slaughter, basically. Then we're talking about a little bit about traditional cutting, which some of you, those that are maybe producing box schemes at the moment, or maybe have a small farm shop, or you're selling at maybe a food show or a large event, or maybe a little farmer's market. Traditional butchery is the main pork producers for meat. And then just to add value to that and to help balance stocks. I know maybe a lot of you might have legs of pork left over, or you think, what am I going to do with these? You know, and Seam Butchery comes into it then, where you can reduce, or you can spend a little bit of time on that product and make it more attractive for a customer to buy. So we'll go through a little bit about that. Kitchen ready products, so that's mainly Seam Butchery, or maybe some traditional butchery with like pork chops or chump chops or shanks and things like that, where you can do a little bit more work and add value to it. Now, a lot of butchers I know I travelled around the UK before I started with the food technology. I was travelling around the UK, mainly working with butchers and farm shops, helping them to diversify and become more sustainable, and a lot to do with nose to tail butchery. So what I was basically doing is trying to bring back some old recognizable products like Hazlitt, and just adding value, maybe with a marinade, just simple marinade that you can buy, or adding a seasoning or a bread decoctor to help you sell the product and make it, and add more variation to your pork boxes. Another thing is further processing of products to be cooked. So a lot of you will be doing that already, things like sausages and burgers, bacon, gammon joints. But there are a lot of the products that you can do that the customer can cook when they get home. So it's basically a bit about packaging, how to present the product. So obviously first impressions count. Your customer gets the box, gets delivered via post, or you drop it at the door. The first thing they do is take it to the kitchen, open the box, and then the first impressions count. And that is a good impression. So if it looks, wow, look at that, look, I can do this with that. And that creates a food culture and an excitement, in my experience, that does. Further processing, another one is of products ready to eat. So that's things like pies, pork pies, sausage rolls, Scotch eggs, cooks like sliced meats. If you've got a little shop going and you think, I might want to start doing cooked meats. Yes, it might be further down the road for some of you, but some of you might be thinking about that. So that's why I've incorporated it in tonight's presentation. Another product, some other products that are ready to eat is charcuterie, which is on the up now in the UK. I've spent a lot of time with butchers up and down the UK, producing salamis, chorizos, some little nice air dried hams. Yes, it's a very complicated process, but when you actually do it, you think, oh, why was I scared about producing this product? As long as you follow the steps and you've done a proper HACCP and you've had some good training, these products are not out of reach for a lot of people. And then we get to a bit more like ready meals, and maybe some of you might want to do some pork meatballs with a tomato sauce, or you might want to go a bit spicier and have some chili in there. A lot of people, younger people, they like variation and not scared of spice. So, if we can encourage younger customers, they're the customers of the future. And then it's just a little presentation about how to present products and what products are out there that'll help you present. So it's just, instead of wrapping in them a white bag and putting or vacuum packing, it's just little things that you can do to make that product more attractive for the end user, which, they're your customers. And although they dictate to you really what you can sell, and yes, you're going to have your traditional people that want a nice bit of fat, and yes, they want nice pork chops, and then that will never go away. But it's the other bits that to balance your stock, they're the bits that you can do, like little bits of shoulder, maybe shanks or hocks for pork, and maybe some ribs, lovely ribs, and some utilising every part of the animal. And if you start doing pies, you can make stocks and jellies for pies, or terrines. There's lots of variation, even tongues. How many of you use your pork tongues? Just salt them, basic brining, and then cooking, pressing, and then you can just slice it as cooked meat. So there's lots of different ways of doing things like that. And then at the bottom, we've got seasonality and seasonal promotions. So it's just me using what I did in my business and other businesses I've managed, is to constantly push yourself at the customer, because the supermarkets are doing it. And nobody will promote you better than you can promote yourself. And there's a lot of marketing out there from different places like Moch, Pork Blasis. There's National Sausage Week, Bacon Week, Pork Week. There's a World Cup on at the moment. Jump on the bandwagon. Get these lads in the pubs. Go, if you supply in food service or you supply your local pub, just go up to them and say, look, I got this sausage for the World Cup, or this for the Rugby World Cup, or use them times to utilize what you've got that you can think you can add value to and sell at a more profit rather than having to reduce your price to sell and balance your stocks. I think that's a bit of the agenda. Next slide, please, Rhiannon. Thank you. Well, so just a little bit. Rhiannon said earlier, a little introduction about myself. Started in the meat trade 1983, actually with a pork butcher in Bangor, and his name was Mr. Gordon Pape. He's from German ancestry. Helped me make sausage. He was the man that taught me to make sausage, and he also did pork pies. Very good. Unfortunately, he passed away a long time ago, but I learned so much off him. And I was only a young lad then, probably about 15. We used to go there after school on the bus and spend an hour or two with him in the evenings, and then obviously summer holidays. I served a full apprenticeship as a retail butcher and food service butcher. And then I did another apprenticeship as a slaughterman. I worked in various shops across the North Wales, mainly in retail shops, supplying retail customers and wholesale food service customers, so hotels, restaurants, bakeries, cafes, that sort of thing. Then my first introduction to the side of farming, my family's Polish, so they were mainly tradesmen in the building industry, but I got introduced to farming through the other things where I first started handling livestock. And then I got a job as a butchery manager on site on a farm in the middle of Anglesey, selling Welsh black beef, Welsh mountain lamb, free-range pork, mainly to the larger cities in the northwest of England, Manchester, Liverpool, Blackpool, went as far up as Blackpool, down some of the larger towns, Widnes, Wrexham, that sort of area. And I lived on the farm there, so I started learning, and that's where I kept pigs for the first time. So I learned about how pork production. I'm not going to say I was a farmer by any means, but I managed to do it, and I really enjoyed it. So I understand where a lot of you are coming from. And then I bought my first business after doing my managerial role there. I got a bit more confidence about my own ability, and I bought a shop in Valley in 1st of January 2005. Me and my wife run that. There was three staff, myself and my wife, and over the years we built it up to 15 staff. We supplied Stennerline, we supplied about 48 restaurants and hotels in Anglesey, 4 or 5 bakeries, which is a really good one for you pork butchers. If you can get to supply a bakery that makes their own sausage rolls and pies, sausage meat, so easy to make, and you can get a really good price for it and clear all your stock, as long as it's nice and fresh. And we managed to sell the business then in 2017. And I went to work for a farm at that time, on a dairy farm, just something completely different, for about 6 months. And then a friend of mine who ran a tapas bar on the island here, then he bought another restaurant and then another restaurant. So he asked me, he could see his meat bill going up. So he asked me to see if I could join him. And that's where I got introduced to a lot of charcuterie, which was like really interesting for me. It was something I'd never worked on before. And I was working with about a team of 20 chefs. And my responsibility there was purchasing lamb, beef, pork, poultry, fish for the restaurants. And obviously it was a tapas chain. So I fine-tuned a lot of dishes with farmers. We were doing small sausages, lomo, we were doing chorizos, little Italian sausages with fennel and garlic. It was really the world's your oyster when you come to charcuterie. So I really enjoyed that. And then after about 2 years, I had another job then, which I said before. I worked for a large sundries company in Liverpool, and that was as a product development manager. So that was when I went around the UK helping farm shops, butchers, adding value. Obviously, I was working with the salesman. The salesman was selling the products, and then I'd go and show the butchers how to get the most out of them products to add value to their business. And then in 2021, I became a food technologist. So I never thought I'd ever do computers and things like that. And I've done a lot of education the last year I've been with them, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm really excited to try and help everybody here today. That's basic waffle about myself. Next slide, Rhiannon. Okay, this I know a lot of you might be pork butchers, pork farmers at the moment, and maybe thinking about having a go at selling your own produce, you know, which is a really good thing to do, and it's nothing to be scared of. Or if you're doubting yourself, you know, if you think you can sell your pork and you can shout about it, then I would highly recommend that you do, you know, and there's plenty of people out there that can help you. So the first steps really of thinking about that is to obviously have the idea, do a few sums here and there. And if anybody wants any help with that, I know Moch can help you with costings and things like that. Really good with the farming side of it, and then transfer to the meat, you know. And there's loads of people out there already selling that would more than happily, I think, share the knowledge that they've got. But the first thing you need to do is contact your local council or your local authority and register your business or your future business with an EHO and get your business registered. When you're starting, just keep it simple. You know, you're selling a very low risk product. Okay, if you're selling it raw meat and you're selling it raw, then, you know, obviously there's steps you have to follow. You're just on the register then of selling food. And my advice is that if you're thinking about it as well, is to go on a basic food safety course. You can there's the 3 centres in Wales that you can do it. There's us up in the north in Anglesey. There's Horeb or Food Centre Wales in Llandysul, and then there's 0 to 5 in Cardiff Met in Cardiff. The contact details are right at the end on the last page of this little presentation. So, you know, you can get the number, your contact number will be there if you needed to do any food safety training. And also with a level 2 HACCP course, I would suggest, because you register your business and you do your training, and then you do your HACCP training. And the last thing you need to do before you really can sell the pork and keep above all your legal side of things is to carry out a HACCP study of your processes and your process flows and your premises. That was also something that we can all help you with. And you know, we can do one-to-one and site visits ourselves. Horeb and Cardiff Met can do all that for you in 0 to 5, so that you can get yourselves in the food game and start making a little bit more money and rely less on your gate price, you know. Next slide, Rhiannon, please. Thank you. I've, like I said, mentioned earlier, you know, I've got a little booklet there for Rhiannon, and that's all about pre-slaughter care and the requirements to improve the quality of the pork. And it's just, you probably most of you already know most of it, but it might just a little bit of background knowledge there just to give you the science, a little bit why it happens, and little some troubleshooting. If it happens, you can trace it back to where it happened. You know, it does work. I used it in my own business. You know, like when you buy cattle from a farm, and the farmer loads the cattle, and the cattle goes to the abattoir, and I constantly kept thinking, why is these animals getting bruised on the same side, you know? So I traced it back, and it was a hinge in the abattoir that was sticking, and every time they were loading them down, they just bumped the side, you know. And then I got that problem solved. The hinge was fixed, and padded up, and problem gone. So little things do work, and I've had plenty of experience of trying to solve problems and what's going wrong here, what's going wrong there. So that little booklet will come in to help. So the main ones are, as you know, transport, loading, rest, plenty of rest, keep them as calm as possible, handle them as less, give them plenty of water. What I used to do is ask my farmers if they were taking the animals in first thing in the morning, and my slot for slaughter was, obviously I've been a slaughterman myself, so I know how it works. If it was in the morning, I would feed them in the night, feed them in the trailer the night before, lock the door. In the morning, when you time to go, you haven't got to load them and chase them around the yard. They've been there resting all night, nice and cool. They've probably eaten what foods, minimal food you've given them, and plenty of water. So when you get to the abattoir, straight off, and then within the hour they're getting processed. And that's it mainly. The bottom one, number 5, is mainly for the larger abattoirs. On hot days, they use sprinklers to keep them cool and keep them cool and quiet. And you probably all know that anyway. So there's a few little pointers there. Next slide, please, Shannon. Thank you. Obviously, the next part, which is really important for food safety, is the FSA inspections in the abattoir. As you can see there, meat inspector there is just inspecting the livers here. And they see the orange chute at the back, that's for the offal to go, or the stomachs to go down the chute to the gut room. And then you've got the meat inspector at the back there inspecting the livers, heart and the lungs. Obviously, you do the same with the intestines as well. So I just got their food standards issue. Inspections, very important. All the pigs that you receive should have health marks on. There's usually 2 on the legs, 1 each side, 2 on the shoulders, and should have 2 on the loins. Some local authorities put them on the belly as well, on what they call the 4 main primals. There is a 5th primal, by the way, I'll be talking about with you later on. That maybe some of you don't know, and that you can utilise. Next slide, please, Shannon. Thank you. Okay, the next process, I've got 2 pictures there. One of the pictures is 60, 70 years old, a pig split in an abattoir. This is in the cooling room after the animals have been slaughtered and dressed. And then we've got a modern one on the right-hand side. And you can see 70 years different. The process is exactly the same. It's just in a more fancier environment. And basically what this is to do is about the cooling. This is post-slaughter, which I've got more information in the little booklet. And we're all talking about, as autopsy, we're talking about rigor mortis, which happens naturally after slaughter. It's when the animal starts cooling. This normally takes place between 4 and 8 hours, depending on the time of year. Summertime, it take a bit slower because it's warmer, it's generally warmer. And rigor mortis comes and goes, and it's really the contracting and hardening of the muscle, the dullness of the muscle through lack of transparency. So that's all to do with the cooling, the stiffness and the mobility of the joint. So they'll go tense and stiff, and then it'll go through the process, and then it'll relax again. And the reason why I'm mentioning this, if you chill that animal before it has a chance to go through that process of rigor mortis, you get what they think something called cold shortening. Okay, and you won't be able to chew the pork. It's so tough. And more often than not, a lot of abattoirs, sometimes you get the one that'll go through. Sometimes if you get people in a hurry, they will chill them down too quick, and you'll end up with some really tough pork. So there's another one, more information in a little booklet about that. Okay, it's called cold shortening, and there's a little paragraph on that. And like I say, I've attached a little booklet in the bottom. So that's a little bit of an explanation on that side of it, the post-slaughter care. Next slide, please, Shannon. Thank you. The 4 main qualities that people look for in pork. This is mainly this is what I think, and most Eblex, and we've got Hibiki Cymru, they all agree, and these are the main things what they call a quality today. But sometimes something is, I'll explain that at the end, there is a part of this that is a bit contradictory, but you can you can use sour meat. Okay, so age is a big thing, but I'll just get to that in a minute, and I'll explain a bit about that, because a lot of people don't utilize the sours, and then you can use them. I used to buy sours maybe 8 to 10 a year, and I'll explain why. The number one, what everybody wants is tender meat. Flavour and tenderness are more or less level on what the customer really wants. I used to like my pigs about 6 months old. Depends what I was doing. Pork pigs about 6 months. My bacon pigs maybe 8 months, and then you get the older pigs, or maybe barren gilts I used to buy to make sausage. Fantastic for doing sausage, and helping with your fat, keeping your fat levels up. A lot of modern pork is a bit lean now. We used to buy free-range pigs, about 12 a week. We used to buy loads of crosscuts of porks, which is the shoulder. We used to do about £2,000 of sausage a week in the summer. And, a lot of butchers will buy foreign back fat. Okay, foreign back fat, and they add to the lean pork. Whereas I used to buy my sows, and I used to utilize that, keep everything local and fresh. And everybody's a winner in my eyes. Talking about older meat being tough, don't forget the mincer does all the chewing for you. So in the sausages, that mature meat is absolutely fantastic. It's exactly what you need to do good quality sausages. And you don't use all the sour meat, you're mixing it with the younger stuff, and you're getting it right. And the tenderness and the flavours, essential for the carcass to be chilled correctly, like I said earlier, so the cold shortening doesn't come out. So it's the post-slaughter care and the pre-slaughter care. Flavour, obviously, is you're the farmers, the best mixed feed or whatever you're buying to use, and the systems you're using to produce good quality pork, all affects the flavour, and the tenderness, and the fat obviously plays a part. And good quality fat is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. There's a lot of natural goodness in pork fat, as long as we're not eating £10 a day, where you become a chunky monkey like me. Anyway, and the age in the bottom, meat will toughen with age, and it does alter the texture, the flavour, the colour, and the composition. But in a lot of products, we need some of that texture, and we need that flavour, and we need the composition to help bind our products. There's a lot of protein, and the structure of the meat in older, sour meat, or maybe older gilts, or we can use that to make good charcuterie. Okay, salamis, chorizos, a lot of sausages, cooked sausages are where they mean, like, luncheon meat, or good garlic slicing sausage, that sort of thing. Or if you like mortadella, that sort of thing, the older meat is the thing to use. I think I've explained that quite well. Next slide, please, Shannon. Thank you. Now we're getting to the interesting bit for some of you guys who have never done butchery before. This is mainly the main way that us British butchers cut our meat, the traditional way. We've got the shoulder there, number 3 and 4. Obviously the head, which a lot of us should use a lot more. I used to make brawn. I used to do guanciale. I don't know if you've heard this. Is the cheek. It's made like a ham, like a speck or a parma ham. Obviously highly spiced, really nice. A lot of the good top chefs use it to make good spaghetti bolognese or carbonara, that sort of thing. And then we've got the shoulders there, which is the collar piece of shoulder, which is lovely for roasting. We've got the hand and the spring there. We've got the hock, which we can use to cure and to make terrines if we wanted to do, or some lovely soups, just selling pea and ham soup in a tamper evident pot, clear pot with a nice label on. People are looking for things like that now. And then the hand and spring we can utilize in sausage, or we can get a really nice picnic ham out of that. Christmas time, it's what we call the poor man's ham, if you like. So it just looks exactly the same shape as a gammon ham, but it's off the shoulder. There's loads of different ways of doing that. Then we've got the rack or the rib end, or if people use the tomahawk chops, or a ribeye chop, or pork ribeye is boneless, pork sirloin's boneless. You know, we tend to stick to the old traditional names of products. I found that I couldn't sell pork chops as well as I would have liked in my shop when I first started, and I was scratching my head, why aren't the pork chops going? So I used to start making bacon with them, and I said, why can't I sell pork chops? And some shops you can't sell pork chops, they're really slow. So what I did, I changed the name. I called the loin end of the loin chop off the end, I called it a pork T-bone. And then I called the other end a pork rib chop. And then I couldn't get enough loins of pork. So, you know, it's daft really thinking about it, but, you know, it's so, if you can just change the name with something that's maybe more people can relate to as a quality product. You know, everybody knows about ribeye steak. Everybody knows about T-bone steak. So just think down that road, and you could be able to get a little boost in your sales. And then you've got your leg, which can be split up into your chump or your rump, your middle, and your knuckle end of the leg if you're cutting them on the bone, or we can debone them, sell them boneless. And then we've got the shanks, which we can do again for soups, terrines, casseroles with cabbage and potatoes. And then don't forget the trotters in the bottom, you know, really, really, really nice. Boil them up. I used to put all my trotters in my jelly for my pork pies. We sold a lot of pork pies, so I was, and then any jelly left over, I used to press my luncheon, you know, my pig's tongues in, and we used to slice them as cooked meat. It's really good. So, but the pros and cons really of traditional butchery. The pros are it's quicker to process, so it's less time on the block after you've done it, so you can cut a lot of half pigs up really quickly. It's less waste for you. When waste is a big grey area, and it's a big. I think waste. It's only waste if it goes in the bin or you don't use it. If you use it, it's not waste. If you can add value. If you can turn water into weight, which is a lot what you're doing when you're making jelly, you're pressing tongues, you're turning water into weight, which you can sell. And if you're not on a water meter, it's a good way of making a little bit of extra money for yourselves. So, you know, think about things like that. It's easier to cost out. Okay, so when you're costing out your product, doing it traditionally is a lot easier. It's less complicated. But a good way, really good way of adding value to pork without doing anything really is in England, when I've been traveling up and down, there's a lot of people dry aging pork now. So they're dry aging the loins pork and dry aging hams. It's mainly loins of pork and hams that they're doing, and they're selling them through the bone. So that'll concentrate that porky flavour, concentrate. Okay, you're losing weight. You can cost that in. So you weigh it before you start at the price you need. You weigh it at the end, okay, and then you add on the cost, cut it, and people will pay extra for it. People out there looking for, you know, things like that. And if you can find the market for it, that's really great. The downsides of it is the customer requirements. People are a little bit more fussy nowadays. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to the customer. You know, they know what they want, and if they don't want bone, they don't want bone. And no matter how much you talk to them, you can't talk them around. So like I said to you before, the customer is your guide to how you cut your pork up, really. And if you can sell all that animal before it comes in, it's a win-win, you know. And your cuts are limited. Okay, doing it traditionally, you can add value to the things like dry aging, maybe marinating some chops or steaks, breadcrumbing things, you know, really, really popular now. And also the presentation of the products, you're a bit limited on how you can do it. The bone usually generally gets in the way and makes it, when a customer's trying to eat a product, if they've got bone waste or thing, you know, it slows things down for you, which is what I call their plate waste, which the customer has when they're eating it. And also larger joints take longer to cook. Okay, people haven't the time to cook big pieces of pork. Yes, there are people still out there that do, but the majority tend to want boneless, something easy to carve. It's going to carve from end to end with no waste. It's going to cook within an hour and a half to 2 hours max. It's more customer friendly. Okay, I think I've explained that one. Next slide, please, Shannon. Got some nice pictures there of some boneless leg of pork on the end there on the left-hand side, and then you got your loin and your shoulder, traditional joints there. Some nice pork there. I like the middle one. Some might say it's too fat. Depends what you want to do with it. The roast really nice, that I think. Next slide, please, Shannon. We're going on to now seam butchery, which is a good chance for you to produce newer cuts, cuts that may be your position or customers, or they might see something on the television, on a cookery program that, oh, well, that looks nice, you know, and then they'll come and ask you, can I have this? And you'll say, oh, what's that, you know? But there's loads of ways that you can, there are manuals out there that you can buy that'll give you all the different cuts. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but your English counterparts, they've got a good one. Is the AHAD, I think I can't remember what they're called now. The old Eblex, they've got manuals out there, and you could even keep that on your butchery counter or your stand, and use it as a point of reference with a customer and actually go through it. That's what I used to do in my shop. They'd say somebody from Lincolnshire came up and they got a different name for a cut, or somebody from London came up and they've got a different name than what we recognise certain cuts. And you can go through the little manual and they say, oh, it's that one. And you say, oh, yeah, I know what you mean now. And then you can go and cut it for them, or you can prepare it for an order. And you can use that as a reference, which is really good. So the pros and the cons on seam butchery, the pros a little bit more than the cons in my eyes. But don't forget, you don't have to do all seam butchery. You mix and match in with your traditional cuts. You use seam butchery to help you sell the stuff that's slow going, or maybe you've got too many of. So it's reduced the size of the cuts and the joints, which helps the cooking times and helps with the customer end when they're carving. It's quicker for them to carve and the cooking times are less. It increases your profits. Okay, so don't forget to cost the time in, and the bones and the trimmings can all be used as stock. So there's no waste. Easier to add value, okay? And the way I mean by that, you're usually when you're reducing a steak size down, you can make it look more attractive, and then you can add a marinade with it, or a crumb on it, or even a bread crumb like an escallop, or a breaded rack of pork. Really, really nice. Okay, so for those people that don't want the rind, okay, sell some products without the rind. Helps. The rind won't go to waste because the dice can go into black pudding or into sausage. Okay, there's no waste at all. It's more presentable. It reduces the portion size. So instead of reducing the price per kilo, reduce the size and say 4 160 gram steaks for £10 or £12, rather than doing it by the kilo, because the customer can't relate how much it's going to be. If you say, oh, it's only £10 a kilo, you know, you could charge £11.50 a kilo, but I say, well, it's 4 steaks for £10. And the people say, oh, I'll have 4. I'll have 4 then, because they, even though it's more per kilo, you're not being shady or underhanded with your customer. It's how you present that product to the customer to help you sell it. And it's easier to balance your stocks using seam butchery by doing a little bit more work on certain cuts. The cons, I would imagine, would be it's more time consuming. You're having to put more time in at the block. You need a little bit of higher skill level and knowledge to do it. That's, we're here to help with that. If I can help anybody do that, I'm here all the time. It's my job to help, people develop their business and their skills and knowledge. It says here, more waste if not utilised. So a little bit of bone and the rind that you come off. A lot of butchers says, I've got loads of rinds, load of rind of pork, I can't do nothing with it. What can I do? I want to throw it in the bin. And it was fresh as a daisy, okay? There was nothing wrong. So I told him, put it in a cooking net, and he boiled it. He boiled the rind up until it started coming sticky, okay? Then he minced it in a mince for cooked meats, and he added it to his black pudding to help it bind. And he said, wow, he said, I can get rid of all my rinds, and it's binding I increased his sales on black pudding. So it was everyone's a winner. It's more difficult to cost out because you've got to remember the worst things we do as business owners, we don't cost our time, okay? When you're doing something, always cost your time, okay? There's a value to your time. So when you're costing out your pork, please cost your time in, and then you're getting paid for what you're doing then. And obviously, there's usually a higher price per kilo, but obviously, if you're reducing the portion sizes a little tiny bit, it helps you balance out when you explain to the customer you can have 4 6-ounce steaks for £12 or £10, whatever it is. And that's explained that. Okay, can I have the next slide, please, Rhiannon? Thank you. So there's a few images here of some Seam Butchery. The top right-hand corner there, there's a little loin, French trim loin of pork there. I don't know if any of you know about the caul fat inside the pig, which wraps around the tummy, around the stomach, and it's attached to the spleen. We used to utilise that to make our faggots. We used to wrap our faggots in it. But one Christmas I had a load left. So what I did some loins of pork, and I wrapped it with some sage leaves and thyme underneath, and I just put the pork on there with some black string. And I think we sold out loins of pork, and we had a good price for them. We just did a little bit of extra work, and that's the sort of thing you do. Meatballs, they're little in the bottom right-hand corner. We've got some breaded meatballs there. Pork meatballs, those were, with some lovely just seasoned breadcrumbs. You can buy them from your sundries. You can get them all colours, all flavours, different flavour profiles. They'll give you a little brochure, and most of the sundry companies out there, they will give you samples if you ask, and you can have a play around and try some at home, and whatever you think, oh, that was nice, and try and sell them to the customer. And then we've got some stuffed peppers there, and some courgettes, and some marinated pork steaks, and some little stir-fry bits, pots there. Everything was in there. And there's a nice stir-fry in the middle with some olives. We did a Greek stir-fry with some pork. With a little big pork presentation. And then some little Italian sausages in the bottom corner there, right in the corner by the pots there. Next slide, please, Rhiannon. Thank you. So what I call bread and butter products, so they're the staple products of your business, apart from your meat, your everyday meat, which is your chops, your belly pork, your joints, sausages, bacon, black pudding. Every day, they're the backbone of your business, and should always make sure that they're at the best quality that you can provide. They become the bedrock of your business. You can rely on them. If anything goes wrong or you've got too much of anything, you can always do it into sausage, burgers, stir fries, curries, and you can sell them. So never ever skimp on them. Keep it simple to start. Don't overcomplicate things. And there's loads of different help out there for sausage seasonings or any flavour profiles you want. If you've got a bespoke sausage seasoning that you would like to do yourself, I would say get a company involved. There's plenty of blenders out there. there's Leonard's, there's Jardock's, there's spice blenders. If you need any of those contact details, I can share them with you. But if you go, the reason why I'm saying don't do it yourself and do it professionally, get somebody professional to do it, is that you get all your product declarations with them. You get a best before date. When you mix it yourself, you're leaving yourself open for inconsistency. And if you get it wrong, maybe you could get into trouble for it. So if you're starting out, until you get more confident, get a spice blender involved. And also a big one there is when it's not broke, don't try to fix it. So if your customers are, oh, you'll always get one or two customers say, I don't like that. But you produce more than one type of sausage. You produce maybe 3 different types of sausage. So you're trying to keep everybody happy. But listen to the majority, and they're your guide. What else have we got there? We can obviously the British style sausages with rusks involved, binders. I know some of you might be doing really high meat content sausages. Don't forget, you can premium sausages, anything over 70%. If you're doing it, supplying a pub, a caterer, and you're trying to compete on price, and he won't pay the price for the 95 or the 80% sausage, don't forget you can come down a little bit. Keep yourself competitive. Don't cut your nose off to spite your face, like sort of thing, where if there's somebody wants it and there's a customer there and you think, okay, I don't want to sell that type of sausage, and that's fine, do that. But if there's customers there with money in the hand, then I suggest you make it and sell it and keep your products going, and then you'll get a bigger, wider range of people will be eating your meat and enjoying it. And then they'll ask, oh, that sausage was lovely, where did you get that from? And then they'll tell them where you've got, and then they might come to you then for your sausages or burgers. Obviously, we've got the continental style sausages as well. So that's things like your merguez sausage, your chorizos, your Italian type of sausage, little tiny chipolata types, or you could do things maybe with fennel and garlic, which is really, really nice. Or your bratwursts, German types of sausages. Loads of variations there. They're your bread and butter of your business. And there's some pictures there of some of the bread and butter on my shop. Different ones there. Next slide, please, Rhiannon. Thank you. And then we've got nose to tail butchery. This is a big, big thing now. Most of the meetings I go to in work at the moment, everybody's talking about this, nose to tail butchery. A lot of butcher friends I've got on the island here in Anglesey, maybe I spoke to about 3 or 4 of them last week about this, and they've got a bigger demand now for pork offal or beef offal or lamb offal. People with this credit crisis, they are looking for cheaper alternatives. So if you get your livers and your kidneys and your hearts, and get making things with it, faggots maybe, brawn with your head. Okay, haslet. We used to sell a lot of haslet in my shop, and actually that has liver inside it, which is really, really nice. And we've got brawn in the middle, and then we've got our faggots and peas on the end. I'm sure you have a lot of you. If you can make your own homemade faggots, there's nothing better, I don't think. Next slide, please. Thank you. And we come down to kitchen ready products, like I mentioned earlier. The easiest way is just to marinate it. There's lots of oil-based marinades there, water-based marinades. There's loads of different flavors. They're easy to use, okay? And there are certain parts of these product ranges that are what they call pure range. So there's no allergenic. There's some with no MSG in, no additives, nothing like that. They're nice, clean products that you can promote that to your customer. The oil-based marinades are mainly for barbecuing, or maybe oven or grilling, frying, that sort of thing. And then we've got the cheaper alternative, which is the powder glazes. You can get them like the MRC, Manchester Rusk Company. They do a good range of dry powders. If you're marinating them and vacuum packing them in a box, come the summertime or even winter time, you know, for things like the oven, pork steaks for the oven, pork chops for the oven, you know, simple things that cook quick. The powders are really good and very cost effective. Then we've got the coaters, herby and spicy, different textures and visual appearances. So the coaters are like a breaded coater or a spicy coater. And again, there's lots of different variations in the same company, but there are other companies that make them like Vestagen, that'll do every texture, every color you can think of, every profile. They're really good for adding value. Again, vacuum packed, maybe boneless pork steaks breaded to do a katsu curry, that sort of thing, or scallops, really, with a nice spicy coater. People can cook within 6-7 minutes and the meal's ready, you know. So these sort of things, they do add value to your boxes or your counter or maybe your presentation to a farmer's market, sort of thing. Introduce them to family first, get them to try them, see what sort of feedback you get. Really good. They do add a better profit margin because you're doing a kitchen ready product. It's worth more money. You put time in, you bought a product, and don't forget to cost that product in to your costings. Flavored meal options, ready for cooking without any preparation. So that sort of thing, I'm more talking about stir fries, maybe curries. So you use your diced pork or you cut them into strips, okay? Pork like stir fry strips, and you do a curry with that, with maybe some pork leg steaks or some collar steaks that you've got too much of, and you add some veg and you add your sauce, and then you've got a ready meal. Okay, then you've got a kitchen ready product that somebody can put in the oven, and you can buy smooth all foil trays that lid that, and you can put them maybe 1 or 2 in your pork box for the winter time, you know, some meatballs with a nice chili sauce or a breaded meatballs with something else sauce. So there's lots of different options out there. It could keep going on forever. Another way is presenting oven-proof trays, like I said, but don't forget, a lot of people use now air fryers. They use slow cookers, really, really popular. So any of your cheaper cuts, boneless shanks, really good. They look really good, nice small size. Nice, take the bone out, and they're really good in a slow cooker. Or maybe a piece of shoulder to do pulled pork. Okay, you can put a sauce on it, vacuum pack it, or you can get cooking bags now. Vacuum bags that will go actually in a slow cooker, so they don't even have to open the bag. So there's lots of different options like that aren't hard to do. It's just you vac pack it and it's in the pack with a label on, and it's ready for the customer to use. Okay, and then obviously if you're doing anything with kitchen ready products and adding stuff to it, don't forget labels, clear good labels with cooking instructions and all the legal jargon. We'll go through that in a minute, but we do courses for food labeling if you're not sure or if you've never done it before. But it's a very, very important part, especially with allergies and people with bone, you know, and things like that. If it's boneless, it's got to be boneless nowadays. Yeah, I think I've explained that one. Okay, next slide, please, Rhiannon. Thank you. So there's just a few images. The top left-hand corner is Vestagen products, and they provide all the little green tub there as a ready sauce. So you've got loads of curries, goulashes, pork goulash is a really big seller, really nice, and some seasoning pots there. And you can present it in a little pan like that for your customer, or you can do them in the black trays there in the middle. They've gone a bit out of fashion now, but we've got another slide with some smooth all foils, which I'll explain in a minute in the next couple of slides. The bottom left-hand product is just a loin of pork, split, marinated, held together with some kebab sticks, and there to go in. Don't forget, kebab and barbecue products aren't just for the summer. You know, we can sell them through the winter, but obviously you present them in a different way. And a really good way of making money is doing sausage rolls. Just wrap and put 4 on a tray. freeze them, sell them frozen or fresh if you've done them fresh for your meat box. If you're getting your pork in and it's going all out in a couple of days, you could do that and just have on it, ideal for freezing on the pack. And then the customer can cook them at their leisure then. So it's just a few examples there. Next slide, please, Rhiannon. Thank you. This one, next section, is products for further processing. It's just a way of explaining how you can offer customers bargains, but to you, it's not a bargain. It is a bargain. You know, you're giving your customer value for money, but you're doing it without reducing the price per kilo, which is really important. You know, to help yourselves keep going. You know, keep yourself viable and sustainable. We've got their ready meal solutions, and these are some products I made in my shop with my pork. So I did meatballs was probably the best seller I did. We did do a pork lasagna, maybe coming in out of the summer into the autumn to keep my prices down and to make it, you know, obviously pork's a bit cheaper than lamb and beef. So I changed the meat and call it a pork lasagna. Nobody ever questioned it and said it was lovely. Pork moussaka, we did pork chili. So it's just like a beef chili, but with pork curries. Okay, if you're ever doing these sort of things, you don't do big chunks. Try and keep your chunks a little bit smaller or into slithers, you know, like stir fry strip sort of thing. And the reason for that is that it helps it cook quicker and cook thoroughly. So if you have cheap chunks of pork and they don't cook it properly and it's still raw in the middle, you can get yourselves into trouble. So, you know, try and think ahead, cook quick, easy for the customer, and the pork will cook the same time as the veg, and everybody's a happy bunny. We've got at the bottom there, we've got a pork goulash, sweet and sour. Obviously, there's an old one for the people that can remember the 70s and 80s. Really, really popular. The processed products, again, we've got our various types of sausage, continental sausage, burgers, meatballs, koftas, kebabs, pork kebabs, pork shoulder collar, really, really nice on a kebab, really good. Stir fry strips. And then we've got pork pinwheels there in the bottom right-hand corner. I don't know if any of you do that. It's just a different way of doing a sausage roll, basically. It's puff pastry, wrapped around meat, and they're really popular. We used to sell them for about £1.95, £2. Really cheap to make and a good way of adding value. You can put 2 of them on a tray and maybe put 2 of them, 2 packs of 2 in a pork box. Get rid of a bit more minced pork, sausage meat, and add value. Pastry you can buy in, really, really cheap to buy. I think you can get £20, £5 pastries for about £22. So that's really cheap, and you can make hundreds of them with that. Yeah. If you're doing the curries and the sweet and sours, I got a little formula there in the bottom, as you see on the points there. The ratio of ingredients are 1/3 meat, 1/3 veg, and 1/3 sauce. So the products, there's only 33 or 34% meat in them, you know. So when you're looking at them, just think, you know, it's how you're presenting it again. You can make a lot of butchers doing things that are making some good, better margins, I should say. Yeah. Okay. Next slide, please, Shannon. There's some of the products that I did in my shop. We got our smoked belly there. It's a streaky. Some pork burgers, some nice middle bacon. I don't know how many of you make middle bacon, but you don't see that around much often now. But still, people do ask for it. And then a different range of sausages there that you can do. Next slide, please, Sharon. You. Further processing with regards to ready-to-eat products. We've got our pies and pastries, which is a really good one. So they're all ready to eat, ready to go. You can do them uncooked again, like I did with the sausages, the sausage rolls before on the previous slide, and put them two on a tray for the customer to cook and sell them frozen. So you don't have to get into the cooking side of it. You know, obviously with sausage rolls and pork pies, it's a raw meat inside them. So it's a really easy way to start. If you put in a cooked filling in, then it gets a little bit more complicated, but we can also help you with that. And then we've got pate, potted meat in the middle there, and we've got a lovely pork hock terrine there with some parsley. We're doing big gala pies with egg, without egg. You can do them with a cranberry top. You can do with them a sage and onion stuffing top. There's loads of different options out there, but all the big supermarkets are doing it. And it's a good way, you know, there's a demand there for it, so you might as well have a go. You know, then we get a little bit more complicated with our cooked. We've got that brawn and a haslet there, some luncheon tongues, which is the bottom slide on the right hand side, and you've got this funny chap at the top here with all his black pudding. Seems to be proud there. He's got a lot of black pudding to sell. So, you know. And we've got our white pudding, which I used to sell less of black pudding, but people, I was lucky my shop was probably 6 miles from Holyhead. So we did in probably early 2000s to the late 2000s, when the Irish people used to come over and buy a lot of things because we weren't far from the ferry. We used to buy loads of pork, black puddings, you know, and used to take it back home. Really, really good trade for us at the time. And we got our pennyworks crackling, and then a little bit fancier stuff with the pork rillions. Didn't do much of them, but they are a good way of storing and selling your pork bellies. I think that's that. Next slide, please, Jenna. We've got our pies and pastries there. We've got lots of different options. We've got some ready meals in the bottom left-hand corner there, which are cooked, which are just for the customer to warm up. I did less of them, but we did have a small selection like that. A lot of butchers are doing it in a big way, which is another way of adding value to your products. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we've got our veg, which we did as like an accompaniment sort of thing. We did things like cauliflower cheese, cauliflower and broccoli cheese. We did the new potatoes there in some oil marinades, which they can steam within 20 minutes, half an hour, they're ready. So you'd sell them their main meal, and then we'd add what we call add-ons or side dishes. Loads of options with that. Really, if you've got a shop going already, it's something to think about. Also, you know, we're all lovers of meat, but we also in a party. If you had a party of 7 coming to your shop or your farm for meat, I guarantee there'll be at least 1 or 2 either vegetarians or vegans amongst them, and then you can offer them a meal as well. You know, because if they don't buy it off you, they'll go somewhere else to get it. And another thing is with gluten-free products. You know, I found that I was turning people away because they'd ask me, is there gluten in this product? And you say, yes, there is. And they'd say, oh, okay. And then they'd probably only buy a couple of things and they go get it from the supermarket. So I cottoned onto that really quick. And then I started having a gluten-free range where people the year after would come into my shop and saying, is there gluten in that? And you say, no. And they say, oh. And then I found out that their spend was getting more. So instead of spending £20, they were paying £40, £50 with me, because everything was gluten free, and they were confident with us, to produce that stuff for them. So always try and listen to your customer and produce what they want. Next slide, please, Shannon. Thank you. This is the charcuterie a little bit. This is what I really like doing. It's one of my loves now. I think I really enjoy eating it as well, at certain times of the year. I don't eat it all the time because it's not really good, not very healthy for you, but it's very popular now. And most supermarkets, if you look, have quite a big range of charcuterie products now. If some of you are a bit more advanced down the road and you've been selling for quite a few years, I suggest you start having a look at this, because there's a big market now, especially with Brexit, and the cost of bringing over charcuterie now is tremendous from the continent. And I've helped a lot of butchers over the last 3 or 4 years produce their own charcuterie, and it's become a good mainstay of their business. Not all the business, obviously, because they may produce 4 or 5 lines, or even 2 or 3 lines of charcuterie products. And there's some examples there. We've got the various salamis. There's hundreds of different types. There's chorizo and gyda, which is really popular. Some of you might not be familiar with that, but that's basically pork back fat with that's minced, processed, and mixed with salt, bacterial cultures, and some really highly spiced, and then it's hung to ferment. So all these products aren't cooked; they're not raw. They're actually raw. But you can eat them raw. You don't need to cook them because they've gone through the fermentation process or a dry aging process to make them safe for you to eat. Then we've got our pancetta. Everybody knows pancetta is really popular and it's not hard to make. Air-dried hams of various styles. We've got specks. We used to do a little gin and tonic ham, we used to call it, which is the thick flank of a leg of pork, which is the front muscle just above the kneecap. It was like a little pear shape. Again, we used to get them off our older pigs, the 8 to 10 month pig gilts, and we used to collect them to the side, maybe get 15 to 20 of them, and we used to cure them and hang them in the dry ager to dry, wrapped up nice, did it all properly, and within 2 or 3 days it had gone. And then people would be waiting for the next lot. So by the time you'd done the next lot, that was more or less gone, because some of these products take a long time to make, 3, 4, 5 months to mature and get to the stage where they're safe to eat. And then we've got spec, Spanish lomo, which is the loin, and the guanciale, like I said earlier, was the cheek. And then we've got the lardo, which is the thick part of the back fat. All that's basically is cured, highly spiced, then hung to dry, and then wrapped. It's wrapped in, you can wrap it in a bladder, or you could do it with a man-made product called Devro. Eddie roll it's called, which is it's the same sort of product as the sausage casings that are man-made. The Devro casings, I don't know if any of you use that, but it's like a big sheet, and you wrap the product in that, and what it does then, when you hang it up to dry, it equalizes, makes it safe to eat. And the lardo is just the fat, and you slice it really thin, and a lot of chefs love it, and they can't get it except for the continent. But if you can start making it, it's another string to your bow. So charcuterie is a good thing to get involved in if you can. Okay. Next slide, please, Shannon. Thank you. Presentation and labelling of products. There's lots of different ways. First of all, it has to be food grade. Okay, so if you ever buy in bags or trays or any sort of packaging, make sure that's food grade. You're getting it from a reputable company. Another thing about packaging and labelling is the first impressions are the most important. So if the customer can see what they're buying, or they can read what they're buying, and it's all descriptive, and they understand what it is, and you've got a little bit of cooking instructions on there, and all, if you add in any marinades or something, that they've got a full ingredients labelling there, then the customer's going to have confidence in it. It's clear, descriptive labelling is a big thing to help you sell. Everybody goes, but labelling, it's a pain, or it's a lot of work, but it actually helps you sell your product. So it's good to have a positive view on it, and it helps you stay legal, which is really good. And it helps the customer make an informed choice on what they're buying, and it helps to build customer relations and confidence and increase repeat sales. And the big thing is it's environmentally and it's sustainable packaging. Helps to build a story about you and your commitment to the environment. We went single-use plastic free when I was at Valley, and it was probably one of the best things I did. It cut down my costs for a start, and it created a conversation with the customer. Oh, you haven't got the bags anymore. No, we're putting them in these because we're trying to be cut down on our waste and we're trying to be more environmentally friendly and sustainable. And oh, that's really good, and it creates a talking point around your product and what you're trying to do for the environment. It ticks the boxes for the younger people that are really savvy with it. People understand a lot more than you think, and the more we can be more savvy, the better. That we're trying to keep our side of the bargain and do nose to tail butchery. We're utilising everything. We're trying to keep our costs down, trying to keep on the right side of the environmentally friendly and sustainable side of things. Yeah. There's a few examples there. We've got seal and fresh bags up in the corner there, really popular. We use them in our shop on our counter sales, and we use some recyclable trays. We've gone away from the black trays. Anything black, if you've got your black trays now, you'll be paying a big tax on it. It's called a black tax. So they've raised the tax on them products to discourage people buying them. But there are other options out there at the moment that you can do. Just again, get in contact with your sundries company, keep talking to them, anything keep conversation going, and they'll can advise you on what's the best way to go. Next slide, please, Shannon. There's just a few pictures there. I mentioned earlier the smooth wall foil trays, which are in the bottom right-hand corner there. We even did with the little pigs in blankets there. When the customer gets that home, there'll be a film lid on the top. You just pull the film lid off, and they can put that in the oven, and they're microwavable and oven proof. They come with a film lid. You can pierce the film if you're doing something else that you wanted to steam it in, and then maybe last 5 minutes you tell the customer just to take the film off so you can brown the top of the product. So that's a new way of packaging, and they're all recyclable, microwavable and oven proof. It's amazing, isn't it? All aluminium in the microwave. Who would have thought of that? And then we got a little presentation box there. It's just an example of a little box with a sleeve. I'm sure most of you are doing that already anyway. And you can get lots of sort of insulation in there. Keep, if you're posting out your boxes, make sure that they're nicely chilled going out. Next day delivery before 12. Job done. Everybody's happy. And that's it. There's just a little half a pig there cut up, ready to go in the box. Obviously, some of you are doing that already. And let's hope more of you have a go yourselves at doing it, because it's really good. Next slide, please, Shannon. Thank you. And then we've just got a little bit about seasonality and seasonal promotions. So mentioned it earlier, being aware of peak and low periods to help maximize sales. Even though in low periods of the year, like after Christmas, maybe end of January, February, March, it gets really quiet. People are a bit brassic after Christmas, maybe, or put some special offers on. Try and get people interested. Do a little box for the month, 40, 30, 40, 50 quid. Give them an option. We used to do them just before end of October. We did a little meat box for the November, and then we did the Christmas box at the end of November. So that's meat for Christmas that they can freeze. You're always going to get the people that will buy it early and freeze. And then when I started doing it, I thought, oh no, it's going to affect my Christmas sale, Christmas time, the Christmas week sales, and it never only increased my sales, because I was getting people from the supermarket coming. I would normally buy it in the supermarket, and then you talk to them and you say, why don't you come and buy your meat here at the end of November? Well, you don't usually have anything advertised or promoted. And then I was ready for the next year. I thought, well, I'm going to be ready for this one. And then that's what we did. And it worked for us. I think we sold, first year I sold 60 £60 boxes at the end of November. And the cheap one we did at the beginning of October, sort of November, was a £30 box, and we'd sold 150, which is great. So it balanced me up. My little quiet period, it gave me like a 3-4 grand boost for that month, which I would normally lose. So, and then we got summer, peak times. And I'll always try and produce and manufacture traditional and seasonal foods for target seasons. So we've got hams for Christmas. You know, if some of you aren't making ham or gammons for Christmas, now's the time to start thinking about it. And then, you know, you'll still sell your legs of pork, but you might be able to sell a few gammons as well. And then next year, people will come back. Customers also like promotions, maybe price reductions to help balance stock or reduce portion sizes. Like I said, make it look cheaper. Don't have to reduce the price per kilo. It's how you present it to the customer that'll give them the incentive to buy it. And they can be marketed, you know, you can do 2 packs for £6 or 3 packs for £10, you know, like things like small packs of pigs in blankets or streaky bacon or stuffings. Stuffings at Christmas is a really good one. So you can sell stuffing or you can sell force meat stuffing, 2 different things, okay? Stuffing is just bread based with all your sages and your onions. And I used to bind mine with clarified butter. So I used to bring it all together and we used to put them in little smooth ball foils. Then we'd mix that with maybe some bought-in sage and onion stuffing. You can get it from your sundries. You can get it in 5 kilo bags. You don't need to buy a 25 kilo bag. Get in 5 kilo bags. Okay, you add your water, and then you add that to your sausage meat and bind them together. Portion them up, and maybe in 12-ounce portions or £1 portions, and you can get £3.50 for that. You know, it's a really good way of selling and adding it and offer it as a promotion. So you're pushing what you want to get rid of then. And there's some lovely pictures there of a ham there and some stuffings that we used to do, little balls wrapped in bacon, all different things you can do. There's a nice crackling there on that loin of pork. Yeah. Next slide, please, Rhiannon. Thank you. And we're coming to the end now, I think. Like I was saying before, peak times a year for me at my shop were Easter, Christmas, Easter, early summer, late summer, Halloween and bonfire night. Really good. We used to do things for the kids with peppers, you know, the stuffed peppers, and make them look like pumpkins, and orange pepper, and you can get these orange peppers. We used to have sausages on a stick, like a sparkler, and we used to get really spicy ones for mums and dads, you know, and then do some fun, wacky things for the kids. But that was a good little boost before Christmas for us. We used to obviously follow the football, the rugbies, the Olympics, any sporting events. I'm trying to think of one. Wimbledon, okay. Just get some wacky stuff going and have a go at making something and promote it for the time. I mean, you know, we got our sausage week, our pie weeks, keep these things through the year, bacon week, pork week, you know, they're always coming along, you know, try and keep ahead and just advertise 2 or 3 weeks ahead. Don't have to push, just look, this is what we're doing for the Jubilee, or this is what we're doing for Prince Charles's inauguration, you know, just get it sorted and promote it. Use the national press to help you sell your products, and all Hibici Cymru and your Pork Blasts, get all them, you know, use their promotions and their recipe cards to promote products so you can sell. Because, you know, it's free marketing for you. And then in the quieter times of year, like I said, you know, try and do some offers, get people interested. Another one thing good at Christmas was maybe is the schools, you know, little schools in your area. When I was in Valley, we had 5 or 6 primary schools in Holyhead. We had Valley, we had Llanfachrau, Budedden School. And what we did there, you know, they usually have like a summer fair or a fete, Christmas fete, sorry. And we used to go along and we used to pay £5 towards the school, and then we'd have 2 hours of selling. And what we did, we sold pies. So because we knew it was between 3 and 5 o'clock, mums and dads were picking children up from school, and they would buy, we're going to have a pie tonight, or we'll have sausage rolls tonight, or pasties. And they'd buy them, pick them up, take them home. having for tea. And most of the ladies that were picking on, gentlemen were picking up, were younger people. And after about 3 or 4 years of that, we found that our customer base was getting a lot younger. And we had, because we used that at Christmas time, and we would be handing out pamphlets and leaflets for their Christmas, promoting our Christmas products. And we've realised that after 3 or 4 years, that we had maybe 100 customers more. We had about 600 customers before, and then by the end, after that 3 or 4 years of promoting ourselves, we had 100 more customers, and they were all younger people with young families that would come in, that would normally go to the supermarket. So that's just a few ideas for you there. Next slide, please, Rhiannon. I think this is the end now. So, like I said earlier, it depends where you are in Wales. You know, we've got 3 centres. The food, Food Innovation Wales has got 3 centres. One in Cigyddiaeth in Mid Wales, which is Horeb, Food Centre Wales, and then there's ourselves here on Anglesey, and then 520 in Cardiff, and the contact numbers are there. Anything you need, just give them a ring. They'll be able to give you all the technical support you need. So if you're not sure, don't suffer in silence. Pick up the phone, and we'll be here to help you. Thank you for hearing me babble on for an hour. Well, a bit more than an hour. Oh, sorry. That's it, I think. Thank you, Rhiannon.
Fab, thank you very much. Karl, that was really interesting. Who knew you could do so much from a pig carcass? It's interesting to hear the different cuts and the new sort of ideas coming from that. If you've got any questions, you're more than welcome to pop them in the questions box underneath on the bottom of your screens. But if there are no questions, I'll just go. You're more than welcome to shoot questions whilst I say this, by the way, if you've got any questions. But if you would like the booklet that Karl was speaking about, you're more than welcome to drop me an email. So my email would have been on the email that you had the link to join tonight. So drop me an email and I can forward that on to you. And also when you close this webinar, you will get a evaluation form pop up. So please fill out that evaluation form. And then that will be really handy. So yeah, thank you very much, Karl, for tonight.
You're welcome.
It's been really interesting.
Sorry, I went on a bit longer than I thought it would.
No, it was really good. I think everyone enjoyed, and it was just interesting and full of information. So no, thank you very much, and thank you all for joining tonight. I hope you found it interesting, and yes, we'll see you soon. Just a few things to flag up then, maybe of upcoming events. So we have got a reception at the Royal Welsh Winter Fair next week. So if you're around both Wells and you're at the Winter Fair, you're more than welcome to join the Moch reception. It's at 2:30 in the Lantra building. So there'll be guest speakers, a chance to network, and a bit of chance for light refreshments. So everyone's more than welcome to attend that. Just check the questions box now. I can't see any questions coming through anyway, so thank you very much, and yes, speak to you soon.
Thank you very much, everybody. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Ta.
Ta-ra.
Tra.